You asked him to put his shoes on. Then you asked again. Then you said his name, a little louder, and he looked up at you with that expression, the one that isn't defiance exactly, but isn't listening either. And somewhere in the back of your mind, quietly, you wondered, am I doing something wrong? Is there something more I should be doing? If that moment feels familiar, I want you to stay with me, because what I'm about to share might genuinely change your mornings. It changed how researchers think about ADHD, and it might change how you think about it too. Here's the thing most people don't realize about ADHD. The core struggle isn't attention in the way we usually picture it. It's something called executive function, and that's the brain's ability to plan, to stop and think before acting, to hold information in mind while doing something else, and to shift smoothly from one task to the next. Think of it as the air traffic control system of the brain. In kids with ADHD, that system develops differently. It's not broken, it's not a discipline problem, it's neurological. And here's where the science gets genuinely exciting. Researchers at the University of Hong Kong conducted one of the most rigorous reviews ever done on this exact question. Can exercise actually change executive function outcomes for children and adolescents with ADHD? They didn't just run one small study. They systematically searched 6 major academic databases, identified 314 studies, and ultimately selected 15 of the most methodologically sound trials for a formal meta-analysis, published in the International Journal of Behavioral Nutrition and Physical Activity in 2021. And what they found was striking. Exercise interventions produced a moderate to large positive effect on executive functions in children and adolescents with ADHD. One of the most meaningful gains was in something called inhibitory control. That's the ability to pause, to not blurt the thing out, to stop mid-action when you need to. The effect size for inhibitory control alone was substantial, sitting right in that moderate to large range. This wasn't a gentle nudge. This was a meaningful, measurable shift in the very cognitive skills that make daily life so hard for ADHD kids. Here's what that looks like on a Tuesday morning. It's 7:15. Your son has been awake for 40 minutes and has somehow managed to put on one sock and reorganize his entire Lego collection. You need to leave in 20 minutes. Instead of the third reminder about breakfast, you step outside with him for 10 minutes. You shoot hoops in the driveway, or you walk around the block, or you just kick a ball back and forth. Something that gets his body moving and requires him to actually track something, react to something, be present in his body. And then you come back inside. And something is a little different. He sits down, he eats, he finds the other sock. That's not magic. That's his prefrontal cortex getting the activation it needed. Now, I want to say this clearly because you need to hear it. If mornings in your house feel like a negotiation with someone who has a completely different operating system than you do, that is not a failure of your parenting. It is not a failure of his character. The research from the University of Hong Kong confirms what neuroscientists have been piecing together for years. ADHD brains are wired differently at the level of executive function, and that wiring responds to movement in ways that sitting still simply cannot replicate. This isn't about discipline. This isn't about trying harder. It's biology, and it's workable. So what do you actually do with this? Here's what the science supports, translated into your real life. First, move before the hard thing, not after. The research looked at exercise as an intervention that preceded cognitive tasks. So if homework is a battle or mornings are chaos, build 10 to 15 minutes of physical movement into the slot right before that demand, not as a reward after, before. Second, make it interactive, not just aerobic. The studies that showed the strongest effects on executive function involved movement that required kids to think while they moved. Catching, tracking, responding, changing direction. A treadmill in a dark room is less effective than kicking a ball with you in the backyard. The brain engagement matters. Third, keep it short and consistent. You are not training for a race. The research wasn't looking at hour-long gym sessions. Short, regular bouts of movement, think 10 to 20 minutes, are what the evidence actually supports. Consistency over intensity, every time. Fourth, let it be play. Your kid isn't going to buy into "we're doing this for your prefrontal cortex," but they will absolutely buy into you chasing them around the yard or a dance party in the kitchen before school. The movement is the medicine. The joy is what makes it stick. Now here's the reframe I want to leave you with, and this one matters. We spend so much energy trying to get kids with ADHD to sit still, to calm down, to stop moving. And I understand why. The world asks that of them constantly. But the University of Hong Kong's meta-analysis, drawing on 15 controlled trials across the research literature, is telling us something almost exactly opposite. Movement is not the problem to manage. For these kids, movement might be the solution we've been overlooking. The brain that can't sit still might be the brain that most needs to move before it can. That changes everything about how you frame it, for him and for yourself. And you are already ahead of so many parents just by being here, just by caring enough to look for answers instead of accepting that this is just hard and there's nothing to be done. There is something to be done, and it fits in your driveway. If this gave you something useful, subscribe so you never miss a video. We do this every week, always anchored to real research, always for you. And I'd love to know, what's the one part of your day with your ADHD kiddo that feels the most impossible right now? Tell me in the comments. I read every single one.